Aloha and welcome to another episode of the Hana Packers Edition podcast, the podcast where two dudes from halfway across the world talk everything green and gold. I'm Mike, and that's Iowa Joe. And Joe, what have we got for today's wonderful top five of the off season?
I don't even remember.
Great show business.
It's been a long week, so I believe it's favorite foods, and we got the little guest with us, so maybe she can throw in what her favorite foods are once in a while, and see if our lists match up, huh?
Yeah.
So
How you been though this week?
I guess it's been a busy week. We've been with the holidays and all that stuff. Work's been kind of hectic because we're down some, or we're trying to replace a bunch of people, so there's a bunch of overtime going around, and then the holidays and all that stuff, and then trying to do things for the podcast. It's been a long week. We'll just say it that way.
Trying to be politically correct and nice about it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think we're going to talk about our top 5 favorite foods. I know we didn't put out the poll this week to ask what everybody wanted, but I just kind of pulled my benevolent overlord powers and said, this is what we're going to do. So, like I told Mike, I got to go off the top of my head on mine because I really didn't get a chance to do too much of a list. But do you have any honorable mentions that you want to throw out there first?
I think honestly, this might be one where the honorable mention comes at the end, and they're all, oh shit, I forgot that one. So let's roll with it.
All right, well then let's go with number 5. Give me your number 5.
Okay, because we're both doing this from the seat of our pants and without true notes, these are just 5, not necessarily in any order. So, first one that's coming up, pizza. I mean, pizza is one of those where it's like, whenever it's on those, you're on Twitter or any social media, it's like, which one are you keeping? Pizza is always a keep for me. I'm honestly not the most adventurous or zany when it comes to pizza. Like, if I had it my way, pizza would just be a nice pepperoni pizza. And I just need, it's more about the execution of the product than it is to be totally like flamboyant or rambunctious with it. It's got to be, you need those pepperonis crisp the right way. You need that cheese just slightly melted, a little bit of the burn on the mozzarella, a good sauce, and thin crust. I always prefer thin crust, though. Going to school going to Michigan, I did learn to enjoy Chicago deep dish, but if I had my, top pick, it would be thin crust. But pizza overall is one of those, like, yeah, could kind of eat that every day. You like pizza too, yeah?
She's like, what the hell are you talking
rejoicing. I know you can
and,
hear
and
me.
If anybody's listening and can't see and it's not watching video, Mike's got his little one with him.
Yeah.
So we're going to try getting her involved. She's the future of OPE.
She's like, I'm not here for futures. I'm here for burn.
Yeah, pizza is obviously going to make my list, but so I won't talk about it too much. But I guess the burning question is, you are in Hawaii.
No! It does not belong on pizza.
Yeah,
a Canadian made it. Agree. Literally, Google it. It was a Canadian invention.
It is. But I agree, it doesn't go on. I can have a lot of things on my pizza, and pineapple is not one of them. So just off the top of my head, if I were to actually sit down and rank these, it might go a little bit higher, but I like fish. I'm not too picky on the fish that I like. I think it was just a couple weeks ago, my dad I bought a bag of, we call them catfish nuggets, and me and my dad just fried them up, and that was our meal. Or there was a restaurant in the town that my grandpa lived in Wisconsin, Sheboygan, Wisconsin, that we'd go over there once in a while, and on their menu they had cod, baked cod, and it was one of the best you could ever have. They would bake it in butter, and it was just so flaky and nice. And you get a side of mashed potatoes and coleslaw, and oh, it was the best you could ever have. But like I said, I'm not too picky on it. I can have it a bunch of different ways. I've grilled it, grilled salmon out, baked it, fried it, all that. The one thing that I probably wouldn't do, and I know this might chase away a bunch of people, but I'm probably not a raw fish person. And so the sushi is definitely not probably gonna. I mean, I'll try it, but I've had some raw meats before, like meat tartare and stuff like that, and yeah, it's or steak tartare. They call it the cannibal sandwich in Wisconsin, and yeah, it's just raw hamburger and onions, and no, that's quite all right. There's one that I haven't been able to try. It's not popular anymore, but it's like an old school style. It's a Scandinavian style of fish. It's called lutefisk. They basically take the fish and ferment it in lye, and it's one of those that today it probably would not be anything, but back then it was big. Uh, I and with my Scandinavian roots, I would love to try it, but unfortunately it's hard to find around here.
It just sounds like it's one of those things you just got to go on a family history adventure and find someone who still makes it in their backyard kind of thing, and one of those those stone vessels that's like like a campfire thing at a park kind of thing here in America. But no, unlike you, I will hop on and kind of use my next one to piggyback off of the one you listed. Fish is definitely on the one of my top fives, because same as you, like, it's so versatile. There's so many different kinds of fish, like, without naming names, but it's like you can go with like a white fish. So like you said, the cods, mahi mahi, even stuff like moonfish, things like that. And then you get into like your ahi. So I say ahi, you guys say tuna, salmons and stuff. And and what's nice about fish, like I said, is the versatility, so that sushi does fall under that. And I totally understand. When I was younger, I couldn't grasp the understanding of why you would eat something that, quote unquote, should be cooked raw kind of thing. And it really is like, I know for a lot of people, it's the texture of raw food. Like you said, I know that that's a part of tartare even, but especially with fish, it's like, it's so not rubber, like rubbery is the start of it, but it is like, it's the rubberiness and the stringiness of fish meat, where it's like, that's how it like flakes and comes apart really easy. It's that almost buttery, salty flavor to it when you cook it. But I've become a total sucker for like sushi bars. But that, and then just going from Eastern style of sushi, or like frying, or like steaming the fish, from my Japanese roots, to like Western American, like fish and chips. I will go to bars and grills to eat fish and chips almost anywhere on this earth. Just get it with some some malt vinegar, and I will eat any fish and chip option. And yeah, like you said, it's such a nice, like, light protein option. And so and one of the ones that I didn't know if I would like is halibut, and I do like halibut a lot. It's more, it's cut, halibut, swordfish. It's a different taste flavor to it because it is a stronger fish taste, but it is like a super meaty fish, and I have come accustomed to really liking those. So yeah, fish is squarely in my top 5 for me as well.
Have you ever had pickled herring?
I have not.
If you ever get a chance, try it. It's amazing.
Is there a place that you recommend that I have, or is it kind of like, is it usually pretty safe to get it from anywhere kind of thing?
honestly, Mike, you're the more the world traveler, so I can't tell you where, I mean, I can go to our local chain called our High V's, and they'll have jars of it and stuff, like, or our Fairway stores and that, and they'll have jars of it. But it just, not to get too graphic, you eat too much of it, you're gonna be hitting the bathroom too often. So you gotta watch what you do with it, because it is very rich in that. But it's one of those that it's kind of not taste wise, but in how you eat it, it's kind of like a sardine, where you get it out and you put it on the cracker and then you eat it, on a
Nice.
cracker. Uh, so I mean, I can sit there. It can get a little bit pricey, but it just, I can use that as a meal. Just sit there and eat crackers and pickled herring. Um, but yeah, I mean, fish. See, obviously, you guys will get a lot of more of what we would consider exotic fish than what we get here. I'm used to the catfish and the bass and the salmon and stuff like that. Because my grandpa and some of the cousins would go fishing for salmon on Lake Michigan, so we'd get the lake salmon and stuff like that. And then, when I was younger, more so than anymore now, me and Dad would go down to the river and just fish for stripers and stuff like that. So I mean, but we'd catch a mess of it, fillet them, and then that, we'd have our fish fillets and stuff. And yeah, I love it. Not so much anymore, because just out of time and stuff like that. But if I can catch a good deal on like catfish nuggets, and maybe I'll throw up our recipe for how we put our fish together on the website one of these. All right, so we're on
Most
number 4.
excellent.
You gotta give me.
Yep. You're number 4 now.
Oh yeah, yours was fish. So mine number 4. You know what? I'm gonna throw it on here. I've been debating on whether it was going to be an honorable mention or if it would actually be, but it's the one thing I would always hit whenever I would visit a Chinese restaurant or anything. And I know it's very, I know specifically Lambeau LeBeau is going to lambaste this friggin' pick, but crab rangoons. I can have a whole meal just based around crab rangoons. I homemade Chinese restaurant, whatever, store bought, whatever you want. I can just, I don't know what it is about the cream cheese and the fake crab and all that stuff in it, that it's a wonderful. I can hit it. You give me a little bit, or you give me some of the crab rangoons and then some of the General Chow chicken, and I'm set for the rest of that. See, she agrees.
She and Marisol are just into just plain cheese rangoons, but there is something about like just
I can't have just the plain cheese.
Marisol will fight you over
for
that
some
one.
reason I can't. Well, no, it's not just. It just for some reason, after having the crab rangoons, the cheese ones just have, they're kind of more bland to it. So I gotta have the meat in there, even though it's fake meat.
that we always laugh when you see it in the like Costco or whatever, that and the box is real imitation crab meat as opposed to fake imitation crab meat. What? Things
But
that
yeah,
make you go in life.
I don't. But like I said, I don't know what it is. I don't mind the just plain cheese ones. But they don't hit the same as the crab rangoons.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. So for mine, we're gonna cross over potato chips and like
what number are we on? This is your number
3. We're on number
right?
3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Potato chips, and this is another one that it's like, if it's on those, which one of these snack items is leaving and which one is a must-have, it's potato chips. And if you make me pick between potato chips, which ones I have to save, it's like picking your favorite pet kind of thing. It's puff Cheetos. It's, I'm a snacker, junk food snacker, and just potato chips, it's such like comfort food. Gotta have it for at work, gotta have it for long drives, gotta have it for watching games, like sports games when you're from your house kind of thing. And just the like nowadays, we're not even that old, but it's like before it was like all we needed was like a bag of Doritos or a bag of the original Cheetos and stuff like that. But nowadays,
when we were kids, that's how we gamed. You'd have the bag of. That's why it's such a stereotype. Your bag of friggin' chips or Cheetos and your soda pop and.
Yeah, and then nowadays you've got like 40 different varieties and 40 different flavor combinations and stuff, and we're to the point where you're in your late and I'm in like my mid-30s, and they've already like retired Cheeto and Dorito flavors kind of thing, and Dusty Evely's got like his list of Dorito flavors that he's waiting for them to come back with and stuff like that. So
I've got one on my list that they have never re-released, and it pisses me off to this day that they've never re-released, and that's the Pizza Hut flavored Doritos.
Oh, those were good. Mine was the buffalo one.
Oh, see, I'm not big on buffalo style.
I understand that. Yeah.
But
Pizza Hut one was good.
I remember seeing anything to do with the Pizza Hut ones as a movie reference, and it was in Blues Brothers 2000. And Elwood reaches over into the bag and grabs a bunch of. That's the last time I ever seen them, and I miss them. They need to be brought back.
Yep, absolutely.
So I suppose that means I got to give my number 3, and I've been trying to think of this one. One of them I'm going to put as my number 3, and one of them is probably going to end up as an honorable mention. And I'm just trying to think of which one I want to go with it. We're going to go ice cream. I love ice cream. I can it could be middle ass of winter, negative 40 degrees out, and I could still just chow down some ice cream. I kind of am particular on some of my ice creams. It's got to be a legit ice cream, but my favorite is cherry or peach. I love peach or cherry ice cream. But it's got to be just plain cherry. None of this cherry chocolate. None of and peach just it hits home. I love. For some reason, I am big into peaches. Hell, I even got a peach tree planted in the yard,
nice.
So I love peaches. But yeah, I mean, now it doesn't do my diet any good, so I've got to lay off of it a little bit. But there's a little ma and pa donut / ice cream shop in the town that I work, and I posted a picture of one of their signs the other day, but they just have a big variety, and I said now it's my mission that I have to go through and try every one of them that's in here. so far every Saturday I've went in, and now the guy behind the counter already knows, all right, 2 more pints. I said, yep, 2 more pints.
Hey, he can't complain. That's the ultimate patronage, so no complaints from him at all.
But I got to go with ice cream, man. Ice cream just hits it, and like I said, it's got to be a good ice cream. It can't be, I know that it's not good for the diet and all that, but I can't go with the diet fake, creamer stuff. It's got to be a legit ice cream, whether it's a milk ice cream or whatever, the frozen milk more than frozen yogurt is all right, but it still doesn't hit just like a true ice cream.
Yeah, I think ice cream will probably make my honorable mention, but it's the one thing that just tickles my brain the way you said it is good ice cream, because one of my dad's catchphrases is I need the good ice cream, and when he says that, he's talking about it's gotta be Haagen-Dazs, and my dad is like the most tight Japanese man I've known. Like, he'll buy so many different things, generic brand and stuff. He's like, brand doesn't matter, blah blah blah. But ice cream is the one thing that he draws the line on, and it's like, if I'm, like you said, if I'm going to be putting something that is not necessarily great for my long-term health, diet, whatever you want to call it, into my body, I am putting the best of the best, and it is going to be Haagen-Dazs. And it's created a lot of comical moments at family dinners where we're sitting there and he's like, do you have the good ice cream? And they're like, it's a good ice cream. But he goes, but is it the good ice cream? And we're like, Dad, we're at like a little ma and pa restaurant. I doubt it's Haagen-Dazs.
Yeah,
sitting
I mean, I completely agree though, because I mean, even though I
Yup.
can handle some like the store brands and like Blue Bunny and stuff like that we get around here, I've got to. It's all right, but it's not like it doesn't hit on the same level.
No, and
Um,
the best of those battles is his sister, my auntie. His sister is the total opposite of him. She buys her ice cream on sale. She lets that shit freeze for years, and she'll pull out the blue. She breaks my dad's heart because she'll pull out like 3 different bargain bin brands, and they'll all have freezer burn on top of it. And he's like, "What is this?" So he's literally brought his own pint of Haagen-Dazs to the family dinners before, because he's like, I need vanilla bean. I need my Haagen-Dazs vanilla bean.
well, I'll
We're
tell
not
you what.
messing around with it.
If we can get this podcast up and going to where we can be like an Andy Herman or Tom Grassi, we're gonna get your old man out here, and I'm gonna take him to a couple of spots, and he's gonna get some real ice cream. And it's not going to be Haagen-Dazs, so he's got to get.
No. My dad is the one thing about my dad is he is willing to try anything and everything. So he will try it all, and if he has to, he will make a run to a Kroger or a Meijer and find some Haagen-Dazs to tide himself over. But I know that with like homemade stuff, he's very good about like he's like, this is a good like in Japan, like that was one of the things with Japan is like Japan loves soft serve ice cream. Like I didn't understand or know how big soft serve ice cream is in Japan, and it's like everywhere. And my dad's like, you can taste the fat in it, in a good way. He's like, you can taste the cream and stuff. So obviously, I expect no less from the Midwest either. So I know that he would totally be down. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We have a shop that's in, like I said, in the town that I work in, because this little town that I live in it's only like 900 people, so there's not even a grocery store here. So it's hard to. But in the next town over where I work, there's an ice cream shop called Graham's, and that place has been open since like the 50s, and they make their own ice cream in there, and it's all in the soft serve machines and all that. And there'll be lines down the block on hot days just waiting to get ice cream from Graham's. So yeah, it's great. All right, so we're on number 2.
We're on number 2. All right, I'm going in a different direction with a dessert, and I'm gonna go with this one is hard too, but I think I'm gonna go with cheesecakes. And this is another one that my dad got me into eating cheesecakes when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and like I'm one of those people who's tried just about every option on the menu at Cheesecake Factory. If we go to a restaurant and there's a cheesecake, I'm going to try it. And I'm going to it's one of those where it's like they have it, I gotta try it kind of thing and stuff. So and yeah, like with cheesecakes, I love just your standard New York cheesecake with a scoop of ice cream on the side. And I can go, depends on the day, but I can go with or without the strawberry on top and stuff. But I mean, they can do so much with it. Like one of the ones that I love from Cheesecake Factory is I love their key lime cheesecake. Marisol loves the tiramisu cheesecake. And I mean, we're those people that go to Cheesecake Factory and we walk out with a bag and everyone's like, oh, did they have a bunch of leftovers? And like, so it was so funny. One time we went and my friend, former coworker, I was like, oh, Chris, Marisol and I are gonna stop at Cheesecake Factory. Do you and Ermi want a slice? And so we go order, and Marisol and I are like, okay, we're gonna get Chris and Ermi's one, and then we're like, we're gonna get this. And then I was laughing as we left because I told Marisol, I was like, the girl thought that like it was like 2 people to a slice because she threw in like a dozen forks. I was like, we only needed 4. It was for 4 people. But she's like, ooh, you have like 8 slices. Here's forks. And she like dropped like 2 handfuls worth of forks in the bag. We're like, and so I'm like walking away. I'm like, no, it's there's just 4. There's two normal people and 2 gluttons who are going to be eating all of these over the course of a week. But like,
now
yeah,
see,
and
that's
then
me and ice cream.
yeah,
That's me and
yeah,
ice cream.
yeah.
I'll go to this, like I said, there's this little shop that I go to. I'll go in and get like 4 or 5 pints, and they just look at me like, "What?" And I say, "I can just keep it in the freezer, and you know
Yeah.
that's my dessert for the week."
Yeah, exactly. So, but like I said, and then out here you've got different restaurants who different takes on cheesecakes. You've got ones who infuse it with fresh fruits that they either grow or they're able to source. One of this fairly old restaurants that I frequent, they make a ginger cheesecake, and it's like the ginger flavor. It's pretty subtle, but it gives like it complements the like tart of the cheesecake and stuff. And people just do different takes on cheesecakes out here, and it just offers a lot of different dessert options. So cheesecake is going to be my number 2.
Now I have to say this, and it's not bad, but it just shows that I'm in an area that we don't get a ton. The only real cheesecake that I ever grew up on was the no bake. You know, it was just cream cheese, Cool Whip, a little bit of sugar, and then you.
Yeah.
Now I want to branch out to it, but it's so hard to find in my area somebody who actually
Right.
does like New York style. But I went to Walmart and got one of their samplers. That it's just a couple slices of different ones. They had one in there that was cinnamon infused, and that thing was amazing. If I could find somebody who could make me that, you know, a homemade version of that, I think it would be just terrific. I mean, even the one that I got there that was store bought was amazing. I can just imagine what a homemade one would be.
Right,
So,
exactly.
like I said, I grew up on the no bake one because my mom just lives and dies by that, and because that's what she grew up on. But you know, I'm open to the concept. I just have never been able to find a place that sells a good in around in our area that just sells a
Yeah.
good
No, that totally makes
cheesecake.
sense. Yeah, absolutely. Just like how our fish answers are different, where yours is a lot of quote unquote outback, you know, the cod,
Yeah,
catfish and stuff, and I've got, like you said, the more exotic, you know, they've got multiple names in multiple languages depending on who's catching the thing and stuff. So yeah, it's
right.
just what you
The
got.
only tuna
Yeah,
we get
exactly.
is in a can.
And it's got the blue fish with glasses and a beret on it.
But yeah, I mean, I'm open to cheesecake. I've never had it, or I've never
Yeah.
had like a homemade authentic. Or I think there's a cheesecake factory in Des Moines, but Des Moines like almost 2 hours away, so it's not like a trip
Right.
that I'm
Yeah.
gonna pull off all the
Yeah.
time. So my number 2, I coming into this, I knew I was gonna come just off the top of the head, but I had my first 2 ones chosen down, whatever. And it's basic. A cheeseburger. A good cheeseburger. I can take bacon. I love bacon cheeseburgers, but it just a good cheeseburger, grilled, fried, whatever. We do here in the Midwest. It's got a million different names to it. We call it steamed hamburger. Some people just call it a loose meat hamburger. You know, it's basically you brown the hamburger and chop it up and whatever. I can eat a cheeseburger that way. I can eat a cheeseburger in a patty. Just give me a good cheeseburger with some ketchup, some mustard, maybe a little mayo, depending on what I'm, you know, wanting for the day, and just a bunch of cheese. And I love it. And I can be sufficed. I can do it. And, you know, I can have that constantly.
That's definitely gonna be cheeseburger is definitely one of my honorable mentions. You ever make it out here, one of the ones that we have out here is and there's a couple of different places that make them, but what we have is called it's Terry Burgers. So it's a burger, and it's either dipped or drenched in a teriyaki sauce. And so
Oh, really?
yeah. So It's just a different play on a burger. And I do. It's one of those where if you come and visit Hawaii, I recommend you find a place that'll make you one because it'll just it's just, like you said, it's just another different way to get your infusion of cheeseburger into your diet. So and it's it's a little bit to have your burger Hawaii Hawaii style, like truly have it Hawaii style. So I'll definitely throw that one out there for the rec list for anyone listening and for you, Joe. So yeah.
Well, and for anybody listening that has a rec that ends up in my area, Ottumwa, Iowa, again has another old school building. It's called the Canteen. It's been around since like the early 1900s. If anybody remembers the TV show Roseanne, when they decided to make the lunchbox on the TV show, that was based on the Canteen in Ottumwa. It was a loose meat sandwich, whatever. People come from, I know when my mom's family comes from Wisconsin, the first thing they got to do is go to the Canteen in Ottumwa. And so, I mean, everybody has their own take. There was one that I got from another restaurant where my grandpa lives in Sheboygan, and they called it the Sheboygan burger. What they did was they took a patty of bratwurst and a patty of hamburger, and then it had the lettuce and the cheese, and I think it had like 2 different types of cheese on it, and it was on a hard roll. It was damn good.
Right.
So, like, I'm so happy. I can be happy with the cheeseburger and no issues.
Absolutely.
All right, we're at the nitty gritty here, Mike.
All right.
Your number
this one
one.
is just this is the Japanese in me that is just flying to the forefront. And my number one is I was gonna just go with ramen, but I'm gonna go with a combo of like ramen, udon, saimin, and sukemen. You get noodles in a broth and you put it in front of me and I will eat it any day of the week. I will eat it multiple times in a day. I think, like, especially with ramen, one of the reasons, and udon too to an extent, but ramen especially, like, there's just so many different options. You can just have your very basic shiro broth, which is like just it's soy sauce based, but then you can get exotic with like a curry based, Japanese curry based, kimchi based, butter. Like literally, there's butter. Your ramen comes with a block of butter on top of it. Seafood, mabo tofu, and then you can change your noodle styles. And it's just like it's that every culture has their comfort food, and ramen especially is mine. But like udon is based, for all intents and purposes, a lot of places will just make udon like ramen, but it's a different noodle. Saimin is like just a very basic, broth and stuff. And then the sukemon is it's nice because it's a thicker, like almost a gravy that comes with your noodles, and you dip the noodles in it and you eat it. So, but ramen definitely is the one leading the forefront of that inverted V into the number one spot on my list of food options. And yeah, like I said, I can eat it for breakfast, lunch, dinner. I can eat it for breakfast, lunch, dinner in the same day. I will not complain. Everyone who's traveling with me would complain, but hey, that's why in Japan you can all eat at different places in the same food court, and you'll probably find me at a ramen shop. So yeah.
This one, like cheesecake, I gotta admit, the only type of ramen that I've ever had was the
instant.
And I'm not even a big fan of that because I find the broth too salty. And I'm one of those that I don't put a lot of salt in my foods. I avoid salt for majorly, and so it's hard for me to eat overly salty stuff. And the packaged ramen broth is just out there. Now I'm open to, try. Like I tell people, I have no problems trying a lot of different things. I'll let
That's
you know
the most important thing. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. That's the most important thing, is being willing to just, sit down and have that dish kind of thing. So that's all there is to it.
So yeah, again, like the cheesecake thing, I live in a small area. As people know, I'm in Iowa, and we are the most white state there can be. And there's not a lot of different cultural stuff in my area. So it's hard to get a lot of those things. We barely even have a generic Chinese restaurant place. The one sushi place we had got hit so hard by
Oh
what's
no.
the health department
Yeah. Yeah.
that they're not
DOH.
they
Yeah.
haven't yeah they haven't been open in like 3 years or whatever,
Oh
4 years
no.
or whatever it was. Um, so it's just hard to find that kind of stuff in my area. But like I said, I'm open to it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So my number one, we've already touched on, and it's not a big surprise. I love pizza. I need, like you just said, with your noodles, I can eat pizza breakfast, lunch, dinner, and you know I can be set. This is how much I can be into pizza. There is one back in 18, or was it 17? 17 or 18. Um, I went up for a Packer game, and we had just moved my grandpa out of his house into a nursing home. So the house was empty. It had just the bareness. I mean, it still had power and everything in it and stuff like that. But I was going to be up there for a week and I needed food. So all I did was I went to the nearest pizza place, bought like $40, $50 worth of pizza. And that's what I ate on for the whole week. I'd come back from Green Bay, eat a couple of slices, and then I'd go to bed or whatever. And and hot, cold. The only thing that I won't eat it is if it's like lukewarm. If it's been sitting out for a little bit and the heat, it's either got to be refrigerator cold or it's got to be hot. It can't be lukewarm because that just throws the flavors off of it. But I agree. Pineapple does not belong on pizza for nothing. There are a couple other things that I won't eat on a pizza: tomatoes and olives. I don't like olives. I don't like raw tomato. I can have tomatoes in things, but I don't like just raw tomatoes. Oh, she's smiling. See, she agrees with me. But yeah, so I'm not overly picky on my pizzas. There's one thing that I haven't had that I really want to try is an authentic Italian pizza.
It
I'd
it will
love to.
it will change your way of thinking of what a pizza is, because that's the thing. Like you said, is like, and like people, like Americans who go to Italy and try their pizza or just their food in general, they're like, oh, it tastes different. But I'm like, that's the point, is that in the US we can't get the quality of ingredients that they use out there, whereas
We
in Italy,
Americanize it.
right? And it's and some people are like, oh, it's bastard, but I'm like, no, it's not necessarily. A big part of it is we just don't have the quality of mozzarella, the Roma tomatoes, and stuff like that. We're
Yeah,
at best we're importing it, so it's like days to weeks old kind of thing by the time our restaurants get a hand on it. And so it's like when you eat any food in Italy, but especially their pizza, it's a fresher taste and it's less seasoning, because it's their way of expressing the raw ingredients they have. And dude, it's like you have one of their margarita pizzas. You just have those big blocks of mozzarella on top of it. They cook the tomatoes that are on it, and then the fresh basil that they put on top of it. Dude, it's awesome. They put like a light sprinkling of salt to bring out the full flavor of the mozzarella. And dude, that stuff is like and it's, at least it was 15 years ago, but it was so cheap. Because pizza is like, obviously you have like your main meal gourmet pizza, like the bigger pies and stuff like that. But like pizzas,
yeah.
paninis, they just sell them, run around handout size that you get for like your snack / lunch, lunch on the go kind of style and stuff. So dude, if you ever make it out there, like I said, it's different, but a good kind of different in terms of what, here it's a lot of like the, bottled oregano, bottled, Italian seasoning flavor that comes through in the, in the bread, in the crust mixtures and stuff like that. But like I said, some people are like, oh, why did, I'm like, it's just because they have to in the US, because we don't have, mozzarella that got rolled this day kind of thing and stuff like that. So
Well,
it's just,
unless you can find you an Italian market like in New York or someplace like that, or find you an authentic Italian family, that still makes it the way that their family did over in Italy. If you can find some, because that's kind of like with a lot of like, we do have a big Mexican population here in Iowa, and there's Mexican food, and then there's Mexican food. And you can go to these places and get authentic Mexican foods because they're just little mom and pop restaurant type things that they're making the recipes that they were making at home in Mexico.
Yeah.
So if you can find places like that, then you're going to get more of the real thing. But again, small town, hard to find, and stuff like that. So, all right. So, any honorable mentions you want to mention at the moment?
So, I think we'll go with like donuts.
That was the one that I was having a hard time with ice cream. It was either going to be ice cream or it was going to be donuts.
I think you picked the right one. Like, yeah, I just think, like, especially for me, I'm not the biggest breakfast person, so it's not like I've got to have my donut to start the day off kind of thing, And then with Hawaii, like, it's kind of like you where a lot of the donuts, it's the like more like your standard bakery style, and they do it. We don't have a lot of like. I know this is gonna sound weird, but we don't have a lot of like donut chains and like Dunkin's or. She's mad I left donuts off the list because she loves donuts.
I think
she really she likes her Homer Simpson pink strawberry icing with the sprinkles on top of it. But yeah, it is one of those. I think
she's
for
probably
me, like
also
I said,
getting hungry because we're talking about food.
I know, what the hell, Dad. But yeah, I think if like I was more of a breakfast person and stuff, donuts might have made the list over some of my other options.
But see, this is one thing that I strictly believe in. If you like it, you can have it any time of the day. It doesn't have to be strictly a breakfast thing. Like I work 4 p.m. to midnight, so I'm not usually up at the 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning type things. I don't get up until like noon half the time. Well, if I'm hungry for a pancake, I'm gonna make me a fucking pancake, whether it's noon or 5 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever. Same thing with donuts. If I get off work and I'm like, man, I need a fucking donut, I'm gonna go to the store and get me a donut. So, but yeah, even here, we don't have a lot of the chain stuff. Our biggest chain style of donut is our Casey's donut, and Casey's is just a gas station that there's a big chain of. They started in Des Moines and now they're like branched out into Missouri, Illinois. I think they go all the way to like Colorado and Minnesota and stuff like that. So trying to find a good donut around here is hard, but now I found this ma and pa little place, and man, they have some amazing stuff sitting there. It's beautiful. It kind of makes you not want to eat it because it looks so pretty. But then you realize you're hungry for a donut and you just eat it anyway. So that was my honorable mention. I really can't think of any other honorable mention. Fruit. I am a big fruit person. I love peaches, I love apples, cherries, watermelon, stuff like that. I'm big into the. I know a lot of people are going to be kind of looking at me side-eyed because being from Iowa, I didn't mention corn. But if you want to know a secret, I can't stand corn.
It's one of those when you grow up with it kind of thing. It's like my dad cannot stand pineapples anymore because my dad, his one of his teenage jobs was he worked at Dole Cannery, so my dad can fillet and chop up a pineapple like nobody's business. But he's like, when you work with, it's like people who grow up on a farm and they're like, I don't do eggs anymore kind of thing. Like, I understand that for you, it's like, I might have grown up in a state that has, everyone's like, ooh, Iowa, corn kind of thing. He's like, I know you're like, that's the reason that I'm like, nope. Like, no, thank you,
Pretty
sir.
much.
Like, yeah.
Pretty much. Now, I do love popcorn, so I guess that could be an honorable mention. I love popcorn. And not microwave stuff, because that stuff is too salty for my taste. It's got to be good. Whether you make it in the pan or you have a hot air popper, that's an honorable mention. I love popcorn.
Yeah.
Hell, there'd be times I'll just go. Well, I don't go to the theaters, but I would go to the theater and just get popcorn, and I wouldn't even pay attention to the movie. I'd just pay my
Right
price
on.
to the admission to the movie and get my popcorn.
And then just to keep it short, one of them is just Filipino food in general. There's so many options, and I couldn't pick one over the others. But I mean, you've got, and that's the thing is like, I could throw out names, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, like what is that?" But so like adobo, which is like for all intents and purposes, it's their equivalent of pulled pork, kind of, little bit of a stretch, but it's their equivalent of pulled pork. You have lechon kawali, which is fried pork belly, with some garnishes and stuff, and but there's so much vinegar in the good way and stuff, and the way they mix the flavors together, and a lot of rice, and but yeah, one of the reasons I joined the Philippine club at Michigan is because I was like, they have food events. Right? I will go. I will eat.
We'll see.
So yeah,
Marisol's going to have to come to Iowa because we have nothing. It's either corn, soybeans, or pigs. And I mean, as I go to town, or I go to the town that I work in, I pass by 3 hog lots, and there's a hog slaughtering plant in the town that I work in. Yeah, it's nothing but pork.
Any more for you, or was donuts your big one?
Donuts and popcorn and fruit are the 3 honorables that I can think of.
Fruit would definitely be one of my honorable mentions too. I'm more of a berries person, but yeah, like it is nice when you have them and you just like, I need to eat something, and you just have, there's nothing that really tops just a nice fresh fruit. And then on top of it, you can pickle them. You can mess around with them and stuff like that. Throw them on top of ice cream and all. So yeah.
Yeah, and it can give you your sweet. If you're hungry for something sweet, it can give you that to quench it and not have to get into the junk. But other than that, no, I can't really. I mean, I love pork, but I'm not going to get into. I'm more of a pork eater than I am a beef eater. So, but it's probably the 5 that I listed plus the 3 honorable mentions would probably be above pork all the time. I could choose that stuff over pork any day of the week, but I think the little one's getting kind of restless, so I think we're good on that.
Yeah. So we won't reveal it yet, but just to tease our guests for next week, this one, Joe has been working a long time on getting this guest on OPE, and Joe's hard work pestering and campaigning to grow the OPE name finally came through, and we're very pleased to be doing for our guest for next week's episode. Big name, most of Packers social media people. Anyone who's around on Packers social media is going to recognize his name, and we're so grateful that he's going to be joining us for next week's show. But other than that, like we always say, please check out our website, ohanapackers.org. You can check out the streams of every episode. You can check our our blog posts and our merch. Perhaps like Joe said, perhaps we'll be having some additions to that merch if we break it big, and we will be pulling from the list of items that we had on here. But coffee, mugs, tumblers, shirts, hats, with our various catchphrases, OPE network logos. Support us here by buying some merch.
We need money.
Yes. So follow the show on Twitter at Ohana_Packers. I haven't checked the follower counts, but I know that when we do any sort of drawings or our polls for these off-season shows, you need to be following that account to catch either the polls, announcements, whatever, to make sure that you're up to
490.
So we're getting close to that 523 drawing for the Jair photo. So stick around and make sure that you're following the Ohana Packers Twitter account. You can be following us individually, but you got to be following the show's account to be eligible. Subscribe and 491. Right on. Subscribe and follow the pod on your favorite podcasting apps. Give us a like and a subscribe if you're enjoying what you're hearing. positive or negative comments, please give them to us because we want to be producing the content you are looking for. That's going to wrap on us on both of our top 5 foods for this week. We want to say go pack go and aloha.